A young black girl comes to the aid of a rich executive whose Mustang has broken down. When he spots the ring on her hand, everything in his existence changes dramatically. The brutal heat of the late afternoon sun made the tar of the rural highway steam as Maya Johnson returned from her educational institution. The 10-year-old youngster reduced her walking speed upon seeing the brilliant red Shelby GT 500 Mustang positioned beside the road, its engine cover lifted like an open maw. A white man dressed in costly attire that undoubtedly exceeded the value of all furnishings in her dwelling paced frantically next to the automobile, screaming into his mobile device. "I'm not concerned about the cost for towing services. I've been trapped on this isolated highway for 2 hours. I'm scheduled to meet the state governor within." The gentleman looked at his expensive golden watch. "Under 3 hours, good heavens." Maya contemplated momentarily whether she ought to proceed on her route. Her Aunt Renee had consistently cautioned her about conversing with strangers, especially those who seemed so obviously out of place in the humble countryside where they lived, a predominantly African American community located 2 hours' drive from Boston. Yet, something regarding the gentleman's frantic desperation made her halt. Maya shifted the burden of her school backpack containing her academic books and, most importantly, the small toolkit her Uncle Leon had given her. Leon worked as an auto mechanic who insisted that all people should grasp basic mechanical principles. "Excuse me, mister," Maya shouted, drawing near with wariness. "Could you use some help with your vehicle?" Andrew Whitaker, president and CEO of Whitaker Enterprises and owner of approximately half the commercial property in Boston, turned in amazement. The irritation on his face rapidly shifted to condescending dismissal upon seeing the petite figure with colorful hair braids, faded denim shorts, and an MIT t-shirt that was clearly oversized for her small frame. "That's very kind of you, sweetheart. But this is a sophisticated performance vehicle. I need a professional auto technician." Maya lifted her shoulders, stepping nearer to peer under the hood. "My uncle operates a garage and has been teaching me about cars since I was very small. I can at minimum take a look at it." Before Andrew could voice any objection, she had already set her school bag down and was studying the motor with unexpected assurance. "At what point did the malfunction start?" she asked with complete professionalism. Andrew released a long breath, understanding he had nothing to lose. "The motor began getting too hot around 40 minutes back and then it completely shut down." "Could you smell anything sugary, like pancake syrup?" Andrew's eyes widened with surprise. "Actually, yes, now that you mention it." "How could you tell?" "It's the cooling mechanism." Maya pointed to a tiny puddle underneath the vehicle that Andrew hadn't noticed. "Coolant is leaking out. That's what caused the overheating." While she explained, Andrew studied the child with growing interest. Something seemed oddly familiar about her appearance. The way she slightly creased her brow when focusing, how her sharp eyes systematically scanned the engine components. "What do they call you?" he suddenly inquired. "Maya. Maya Johnson." She offered her hand, stained with oil from her examination. He took it reluctantly. "Andrew Whitaker." "Nice meeting you, Mr. Whitaker. I think I can make a temporary fix." Maya opened her school bag and pulled out a compact metal toolkit. "Uncle Leon makes me keep an emergency repair kit. You can't predict when someone will need roadside help." Andrew watched with fascination as the child worked with impressive skill, locating the damaged radiator hose and applying special repair tape. "This should last until you get to the nearest town," she clarified. "But you'll have to put in water to compensate for what leaked out." It was at the moment Maya raised her hand to move hair away from her eyes that Andrew saw it. A ring containing an emerald stone mounted in old-fashioned gold, held onto her finger with string wound around the band to keep it from falling off her tiny finger. Andrew felt his world come to a standstill. The sunshine reflected off the gem, showing an internal marking he could identify anywhere, a tiny moon-shaped imperfection. A ring he had presented 11 years before to a small girl named Maya at an institution called Little Angels, just days before it was mysteriously shut down. "That piece of jewelry," Andrew started, his voice suddenly quivering. It's quite unusual. Maya looked down at her hand. It was my mother's well, my adoptive mother Diana's. She died the previous year. A look of grief passed over her features. She told me it represented an important vow. Could I ask how Diana came to have this ring? Maya raised her shoulders. She never said precisely. She only mentioned it had belonged to someone important, and that eventually I would learn what it meant. Andrew tried to pull himself together, suggesting he drive Maya to her home as a way of showing appreciation. She paused only briefly before agreeing. During the quarter-hour trip, Andrew asked what seemed like casual questions about her circumstances, which school she attended, how long she'd been living in this area, who had cared for her since her adoptive mother's death. I stayed with my Aunt Renee and Uncle Leon, Maya told him. They brought me in after Diana passed. Have you been here your whole life? Andrew inquired, trying to sound casual while his knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Since I turned 3. Before that. Maya hesitated. Diana didn't like talking about it much. I know I came from an orphanage called Little Angels. It got closed down not long after. Andrew almost crashed the car. Little Angels? You're positive? Yes. How come? Do you know about it? Andrew breathed deeply. I did many years back. When they reached a modest but tidy house, Andrew brought the car to a stop. Maya expressed her gratitude and prepared to leave. But before she could get out, he gave her his business card. Maya, should you ever need anything at all, please get in touch with me. The girl took the card with curiosity and exited the vehicle. Andrew observed as she hurried toward the house, the ring catching the light. His hands shook as he grabbed his phone to contact his private detective. What Maya had no way of knowing, as she gave one last wave to the stranger in his luxury car, was that this random meeting had just set into motion a series of events that would uncover secrets buried for over a decade. Secrets linking a multi-billion-dollar corporation, a mysteriously shuttered orphanage, and a black child with an amazing talent for repairing damaged items. If this narrative of unexpected coincidences and concealed connections has sparked your curiosity, make sure to subscribe to learn how a simple piece of jewelry would unlock a web of influence, bias, and revelations that would alter lives permanently. Andrew passed 3 nights without sleep, staring at blown-up pictures of the emerald ring his detective had captured. The gem he had given to young Maya at the Little Angels facility, as a guarantee that he would come back for her. A guarantee he failed to honor. In his corporate office at Whitaker Enterprises, he reviewed papers spread out on his work surface. 11 years earlier, his father, Howard Whitaker, had acquired the Little Angels land for well below market value, claiming financial problems. By chance, Andrew was made CEO soon after. Mr. Whitaker, Mr. Evans from the legal department has arrived with the Horizon Project files, his secretary informed him. The Horizon Project, an upscale development being built on the precise spot where the orphanage had previously existed. Andrew hastily hid the reports before Evans came in. The Little Angels purchase documents are ready, Evans said. Although I'm confused why we're looking at old business again. Your father was very clear about keeping these files archived. My father has retired to Florida, Andrew answered sharply. And I'm running this company now. While reviewing the paperwork, Andrew found questionable money transfers and, more troubling, a roster of children who had been moved when the orphanage was closed. Maya Johnson's name was highlighted in red with a note. Priority case, notify HW. His detective, Ramirez, phoned with updates. I tracked down Diana Johnson. Fatal car crash last year. Brake malfunction. Looks suspicious. What about adoption paperwork? Gone. According to official records, Maya Johnson was never at Little Angels. Learn everything about her current guardians, Andrew commanded. At the same time, Maya was busy in the tiny workshop located behind her relative's house. This area served as her retreat, equipment arranged along the walls, the familiar aroma of motor oil and lubricants. Were you able to get the vintage radio working? Leon asked as he entered the workspace. Maya grinned, holding up the 1950s radio. Got it running. Just needed to fix some wire connections. Leon lovingly messed up his niece's braids. You've got a special ability, kid. I've never seen anybody understand machinery the way you do. Uncle, would my mom have been proud? Diana was bursting with pride about you. Maya rotated the ring around her finger. I helped a rich guy recently. His car had problems and I got it working. He seemed to know my ring. Leon went stiff. What guy? Andrew Whitaker. He left me his business card. Maya displayed the card. He acted weird when he noticed my ring. Leon's complexion went white. He looked at Renee, who had come to the entrance. Maya, sweetheart, Renee said with tension. Do you remember our promise to share the real story about Diana when you got older? I believe that moment is here. That evening, Maya learned the hidden truth. How Diana, working as a nurse at the orphanage, had fled with her when the institution was suddenly closed. How they had assumed new identities and lived in secrecy for years, constantly watching for danger. Your mother saved this for you, Renee said, passing her a worn envelope. She forced us to promise we'd only give it to you if anyone from the Whitaker family showed up. With trembling fingers, Maya started reading. My precious Maya, if you're reading this, someone has tracked you down. There are facts you need to learn. At Andrew's residence, Ramirez called once more. Sir, there's another person looking into Little Angels, a journalist called Marcus Hayes. What has he discovered? Plenty. And he's got a theory about why your father targeted specific children at the orphanage, particularly kids with special capabilities. The next morning, a dark SUV parked outside Maya's school. 2 suited men watched her leave with classmates. That's her? The child with the emerald jewelry? Correct. Mr. Whitaker Sr. requests her presence right away. They were unaware that Leon sat in his car across the road. He pulled out his cell phone and called a number Diana had provided for urgent situations. Marcus Hayes? This concerns Little Angels, Leon said. And a child wearing an emerald ring. I possess the proof you need. At Whitaker Enterprises, Andrew faced his father, Howard, who had arrived from Florida unexpectedly. What's the meaning of reviewing the Little Angels files? Howard demanded. I assumed that issue was settled. I located Maya Johnson, Dad, the child with the emerald ring. Howard became rigid. So what? Just another orphan child. What's important is Project Horizon. Billions are on the line. What made that child so special? Howard chuckled coldly. Don't you really grasp what's involved? Certain children have value. They possess abilities that can be harnessed. She fixes machinery, Andrew said deliberately. She can look at broken equipment and instantly understand it. Howard's expression was ice cold. Consider the defense applications, the intellectual property, the control. Why do you think we acquired that orphanage? Neither Whitaker knew that Maya was already reading Diana's letter, learning about her history and her unique gifts, and most crucially, understanding why the emerald ring held such importance. It wasn't simply jewelry, but a key to records that could topple an empire. The elements of the mystery were starting to connect. On one side, a mighty corporation willing to guard its secrets at all costs. On the other, a 10-year-old child with remarkable abilities and a ring more valuable than the emeralds it contained. Between them stood a man deciding which version of events he would support. The boardroom on the 50th level of Whitaker Enterprises buzzed with anxious executives. Howard Whitaker had summoned an urgent meeting, his usually calm demeanor now twisted with fury. Where has my son gone? Howard shouted, slamming the enormous glass conference table. Andrew was supposed to be here 60 minutes ago. As though his words had summoned him, the double doors opened wide. Andrew walked in peacefully, followed by a woman in professional attire nobody recognized. Apologies for my lateness, Dad, Andrew said with a calm that made Howard frown. This is Federal Prosecutor Claire Bennett. She wants to discuss Project Prometheus. Howard's face strained of color. Project Prometheus, the secret designation for the covert program to locate and abuse children with extraordinary abilities, a name that should never be spoken publicly, especially not to federal investigators. What in blazes do you think you're accomplishing? Howard snarled. Andrew moved to the big display screen and plugged in his computer. Something I ought to have done years ago. The reality about Little Angels and the other 5 facilities you've shut down during the last 15 years. The room darkened and the screen lit up with files, photos, and documentation. Comprehensive records of 48 exceptional children located, evaluated, and abused by Whitaker Enterprises. You've stolen private company files. Howard attempted to regain control. That constitutes corporate theft, business espionage. Files that prove much worse violations, Andrew responded. Illegal testing on children, fake adoption paperwork, corrupting government officials, threatening witnesses. A recording started playing on the display security video from 11 years past. A young medical worker Andrew now recognized as Diana Johnson escaping during the night with a child. Following that, footage of Howard directing security personnel. Locate her. The child has important defense value. We must not lose her. 3 Little Angel staff members perished in incidents during the following weeks. Andrew continued without pause, including Diana's brother, who had begun questioning things. You don't understand the ramifications, Howard started, but stopped when the doors opened again. Maya Johnson walked in, joined by Uncle Leon and a man with professional camera equipment, Marcus Hayes from the Boston Globe. Maya, Andrew said gently. You weren't required to come. Yes, I was, she answered with remarkable poise for her age. Diana always told me that someday I'd need to confront the men who forced us to hide. Howard stared at the child, his look changing from surprise to calculating coldness. So, you're the remarkable subject 17. I hadn't expected you to be quite so small. And you're the person who murdered my mother, Maya responded, her stare steady. Her car brakes didn't break accidentally, did they? Howard grinned, getting his confidence back. Proving that would be impossible, and you're forgetting my position. One call and this all goes away. That's when Maya opened her school bag and removed the emerald ring. With practiced movements, she rotated the stone, exposing a hidden section. From within, she pulled out a miniature electronic device. Diana was more clever than you realized, she stated. This is a data storage unit she hid inside the ring. It has copies of all the Little Angels files, including audio of your discussions with defense doctors about using children with advanced mental abilities for military purposes. Howard Whitaker, for the first time ever, had no words. This is going out live at this moment, Marcus Hayes said, indicating his camera. To our newsroom and straight to internet platforms. More than 10,000 viewers are watching right now. Andrew approached his father, speaking quietly. It's over. The prosecutor offered me a deal. Complete cooperation for legal protection. For you, well, a jury will make that decision. As government agents came in to take Howard Whitaker into custody, Maya walked up to the man who had ruined so many existences. My mother showed me that damaged machines can be repaired, she said peacefully. But damaged people must repair themselves. I hope prison gives you that chance. Howard was taken away, his business empire falling apart live on camera for everyone to see. Over the following days, Whitaker Enterprises shares collapsed. Official investigations exposed decades of immoral conduct, illegal testing, and widespread corruption. Andrew observed everything with complicated feelings of relief and sorrow. He had sacrificed his family and wealth, but had discovered something more precious, his moral compass. Outside the courthouse, while Howard waited for his initial court appearance, Maya found Andrew on the front steps. What comes next? She wondered, the emerald ring shining on her finger, no longer representing hidden secrets, but exposed truth. Andrew gazed across the urban landscape, at the tall buildings constructed with money tainted by abuse and pain. Among them stood the shining Whitaker Tower, which would soon bear a different name. No, he replied. We reconstruct. Not just structures, but people's lives. None of them could have foreseen how that reconstruction would change not only their own lives, but an entire neighborhood. A business empire founded on abuse was falling apart, but from its ruins, something fresh and surprising was ready to emerge. Something that would permanently alter how society viewed remarkable talent in unexpected places. Half a decade has elapsed since Maya Johnson revealed the reality about the Whitaker Empire. On a beautiful spring day, she moved through the hallways of the recently established Johnson Center for Young Inventors, a vast facility of research labs, creative spaces, and learning areas constructed where the Little Angels Orphanage previously existed. The detection equipment in the eastern section continues to malfunction. Maya, now 15 years old, informed the team of technical specialists accompanying her. Her trained eyes spotted issues in complicated systems as easily as she had found a radiator leak years earlier. In the rear area of the facility, Andrew Whitaker discussed plans with financial backers, having traded his business suit for casual clothes and a dress shirt. The previous heir to billions had given away his complete personal wealth to create the Prometheus Initiative, no longer a program of abuse, but an organization committed to finding gifted youth from disadvantaged backgrounds and offering them real opportunities. We identified 23 children with remarkable abilities during this 3-month period, Andrew told them. Everyone gets complete educational funding and individual guidance. No binding agreements, no abuse, no hidden agendas. Andrew's change surprised many people, particularly past Whitaker Enterprises managers. The person who had once been destined to inherit an empire of abuse now spent his time fixing harm and building real chances for others. Maya is preparing to file her third invention patent, Leon mentioned, now directing the facility's technical education department. Harvard, MIT, and Stanford are all competing to recruit her for their programs. Along the facility's central wall, a display told the complete story: pictures of the old orphanage, news articles about Whitaker Enterprises' collapse, and a newspaper headline that transformed everything. Whitaker Business Empire falls following youth's revelations. At the same time, in a moderate security federal correctional facility, Howard Whitaker stared at his cell walls. The business leader who once managed billions and controlled lives now lived in imprisonment, deserted by past associates, his wealth seized, his reputation permanently destroyed. He won't join any reform programs, a prison officer noted. He still thinks he'll be released and rebuild his empire. The pride that had defined him was now merely a pitiful shadow, an elderly man holding on to power fantasies that would never become reality. That evening, the Johnson Center conducted its first significant graduation event. 12 young adults from struggling communities had finished the demanding 2-year curriculum, each holding job opportunities or university scholarships. Maya, still too young for graduation but already viewed as a guide by older students, stepped forward to address the audience. At age 10, I helped repair a stranger's broken car beside the highway, she started, turning the emerald ring on her finger, now symbolizing not hidden secrets, but positive change. That simple act of helping someone exposed a network of abuse, but it also created the path for something better and new. Andrew observed from the auditorium's back, his eyes becoming moist. The child who had torn down his previous world had actually provided him with meaning that no amount of money could equal. My adoptive mother, Diana, often said that damaged machines could be fixed, but damaged systems required complete redesign. Maya went on. That's our mission here, not simply repairing past wrongs, but creating something completely different. The following day, Maya got an unexpected piece of mail. The writer was Victoria Whitaker, Howard's daughter, who had rejected her family's surname after the controversy and now served as a federal attorney. We discovered 5 additional orphanages running programs like Little Angels, the letter stated. Because of your court testimony and the proof you provided, we've managed to locate and safeguard 37 additional children. Some possess abilities similar to yours. When you feel ready, they would enjoy meeting you. As Maya shared the letter with Andrew, Uncle Leon, and Aunt Renee, a feeling of completion filled the room. What had started with a random roadside meeting had grown into a peaceful revolution, changing not just their lives but an entire system that had prospered by exploiting vulnerable people. "You know what's strange?" Andrew observed. "Howard always claimed he was creating a lasting legacy, and he actually did just not how he planned it." Maya looked through the window at children playing in the facility's outdoor areas, protected from the kind of control that had almost shaped her own future. "True power never came from buildings or money," she responded. "It came from the capacity to improve other people's lives." That evening, as sunset fell over the Johnson Center, a new marker was revealed at the main entrance. "Every ability deserves the chance to grow. Every child deserves independence." It represented a commitment to the future, built upon the remains of a past they refused to repeat. If this tale of fairness, strength, and positive change moved you, please subscribe to our channel for additional stories about how small acts of bravery can transform entire systems and how genuine healing involves not just punishing wrongdoing, but creating something superior in its place.